All right, welcome back. Next episode in our conversion to video of Dr. Dave Regis's book, Tactics in the Chess Openings. And last time out, we had started looking at the good doctor's suggestion against the Caro Kann. Lots and lots of possible theory, book theory against the Caro Kann, but in keeping with a lot of the other suggestions from Dr. Dave, we go for the Panov-Bottvinnik Attack. And you can end up quite frequently with the isolated queen's pawn here. If you've been watching lots of the other videos and some of the ones to come in the future, you'll realize that there's a bit of a theme in Dr. Dave's recommended repertoire. The isolated queen's pawn position comes up quite a bit. And I imagine that's on purpose because, you know, once you know how to handle it, it kind of makes sense to play that sort of position quite a bit. So we looked at some Caro Kann games last time. We've got 4 more in this video and then 4 more in the next video, all with this first series of moves. And just to note, computer's on in the background. I'll turn it off in a sec, but computer says perfectly good position, basically level, tiniest of edges to white, exactly what you'd expect from any good opening. Okay, so our first game today is a trap that we've seen in a very, very similar way from other openings, from another opening in one of these videos. So you might recognize the pattern. No player names for this one. But we get to this position and black plays knight to c6, which is fine. Knight to f3 from white, which is fine. Bishop to g4 from black, which is fine. Pawn takes from white. All of this is fine. The bar's not doing anything too dramatic. Queen takes is fine, and then bishop e2. And this is setting a bit of a trap. Although it's level if black doesn't do anything silly, what black sees is 2 pieces attacking this pawn, 2 defenders defending it, and so if you take away one of the defenders, you must win a pawn, right? Right, okay. Well, not quite. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. Bar is saying that white is slight advantage here, so clearly there's something going on. But black plays queen takes and then is losing. If you want to solve this not too difficult tactical puzzle, feel free to press pause. Otherwise, I'll be carrying on in 3, 2, 1. And the point is white doesn't play queen takes queen, knight takes queen, and then maybe bishop takes pawn, which gets him nowhere. Instead, white removes the guard. The queen is guarded by the knight. So bishop takes knight is check. Uh-oh, black has to deal with the check, but now the queen is no longer guarded and queen takes queen is obviously winning, plus 10 for white. Okay, let's just nip back here in this position, by the way. Computer doesn't actually like bishop to g4. The best moves here just should be e6 and knight to f6. So just if you get this position, e6, computer's probably going to suggest just develop your knight. Yeah, just keep developing, it's fine. And I suspect against knight to f6, same thing. My money is on knight to c3 being best. Yeah, well, actually, all pawn takes pawn. Both very, very solid moves. But yeah, after bishop g2, bishop e2 is good. So bishop g4, bishop to e2 is good because of that little trap that we just saw. Okay, so that's one game down. Now in the next one, we have a real clash of the generations. It's 1935 and it's Moscow. And we've got Mikhail Botvinnik, who lends his name partly to this opening because it's sometimes called the Panov-Bottvinnik Attack. And Botvinnik in 1935 is a very, very young man. He was the world champion, won it, lost it, won it back, lost it, won it back a few times in the mid-50s, very early 60s, I think. So in 1935, he's a very young man. And in this game, he's playing a player called Rodolf Spielmann, who must be right at the other end of his career. In 1935, I guess he must be 60-ish, maybe not quite 60, but pushing it, I should think. And they're in Moscow, and quite interesting because Spielmann had the reputation for being a very wild player, liking sacrifices and gambits and what have you. And yet in this game against Botvinnik, he actually plays the super solid, super safe Caro Kann. So completely out of character, really, for Spielmann. So let's see how this game goes. Now we get to our normal position by a transposition, so a slightly different order of moves that get us to the same place. D5, takes, and now d4. So it's really just exactly the same as we've been used to, but by a slightly different move order. And Spielman, knight to f6 is fine. Knight to c3, absolutely fine. Knight to c6, absolutely fine. And Bottvinnik plays bishop to g5. Still dead level, nothing wrong with bishop g5. Okay. Now, Spielman sees that this bishop move has undefended this pawn. And so he plays queen to b6. So this looks like it's putting pressure on here. There's two pawns attacking, two pieces attacking this pawn. It's pressure on here because nothing's defending this. And yet the computer still says slight tiniest of advantages to white. So what's going on here? Well, Bottvinnik takes, knowing that this is defended, so there's no reason he can't. And Spielman decides he can grab this pawn. And he can't, as you can see, +2, +3 and a bit. Clearly it's a mistake. There we go, +3 and a bit. So really the mission for you now, if you want to do it, is to press pause as usual and try to work out just why this is such a mistake. So if you want to do that, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will carry on in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so Dr. Dave in his book has written, in this famous game, Black has let his queen stray too far. Can you see what the Grandmaster missed after Queen b2? Well, what he's missed is that White with 3 moves can trap the Queen. You see, Rook to c1. Now I'm going to put the lines back for this actually, because then you can hit pause if you want and sort of follow it yourself. So Rook to c1 is nasty. I mean, we'll let the computer do its thing. Now, we know, because Dr. Dave tells us in the book, that the idea is rook to c1, knight a4, and bishop c4, and the queen just can't get out. But let's see some possible moves to Black. So what happens if we go here? Well, we just lose a piece. So we can't move the queen straight out. I know that's very, very simple, but you know, there are obviously beginners going to be watching this. You've got to do something because your knight's under attack. So, okay, well, what if we decide to ignore that and we just attack the white queen, bishop g4? Well, white just puts a pawn in the way and now Black's got 2 pieces under attack. Okay, well, that's not going to do it. So maybe Black just has to move the knight. So we try knight to b4. But after knight to b4, the moves that are suggested come into play. For example, after here, Black can take this, fine, go ahead. But now bishop c4, and what are you going to do with the queen? So everything that white is using is defended. There's no way for the queen to capture anything. And the bishop is attacking backwards. So what can you do? You can try putting the knight in the way, but it really gets you nowhere. After queen takes, you've just lost a piece. So, okay. And if you play queen to a3, well, that doesn't get you anywhere either, because the rook can go here to pester the queen again and is protected by the knight. Queen takes knight's no good because a queen takes queen, and you've just got no moves. So, yeah, ouch. And in fact, in the real game, I'll just take you back to what was played. So after rook to c1, Spielman did play knight to b4. Knight to a4 was played, of course. Queen takes a2 from Spielman. Bishop to c4. Bishop to g4, an attempt. A knight to f3 from Bottvinnik, doesn't even play f3. The right move now isn't f3, it's knight to f3. And after takes, Black resigned. There's just no way to save the material. Wow. Ouch. And a nice game. As I say, this is the Panov-Bottvinnik Attack. It's only saying Panov, which is a bit of a shame. And ironically, it's called the Riffier-Spielman line. So I wonder if this whole variation has got Spielman's name attached to it. I'm not sure he'd have wanted it, but okay. Right, 2 more games to go. And we have here Kalich versus Milde. I don't know these two, certainly not as well, not even remotely as well known as Bottvinnik and Spielman, but I'm sure they're very good players, as this is the 1990 German Under-20 Championship. So yeah, they're clearly capable players. So let's have a look. E4, C6, D4, D5, and takes, and C4. And in this game, black goes for the exchange line, so takes and takes. And this is good because it gives us yet another example of isolated queen's pawn. By isolated, we mean there's no pawns on the lines next to it. Now that means in an endgame, with all the other pieces taken off, whoops, I'm messing up the arrows, with all the other pieces taken off, it becomes a bit weak, it becomes difficult to defend. But at this stage of play, it's giving white open lines. So if we can get rooks, that's good. It's giving white room to move around, to develop pieces. It's giving white, just illustrating here, it's giving white potential central control. And of course, white has the possible plan of trying to push the thing. Meanwhile, black is going to be desperately trying to do all kinds of things. I need to put my arrows back. That one, that one, that one, that one, maybe here. Anything that they can do to blockade this square and stop the pawn advancing and swap pieces off. I mean, I've just done isolated queen pawn in like 30 seconds. Yeah, it's not enough, but you get the basic idea. So bishop c4 is played in our game. Knight to c6. Oh, let's turn the lines off, actually. Knight to c6 from black, knight to f3 from white, bishop to g4 from black. And position computers saying actually white's doing very nicely. Thank you here. +2 is obviously very, very good news. In our game, white tries this, which is okay, actually. It's a tactic, you know, it's still +1 and a bit, so white's fine. How are you doing this if you're playing white? How do you get away with this? Well, this isn't just winning a piece. This is quite a common tactic because now after knight check, when the king gets out of check, you have queen takes bishop. And that's exactly what happens. So king to e8, queen takes g4, and black decides to go in for queen exchanges. Oops, didn't mean to do that. For queen exchanges, so queen takes pawn, white obliges, queen takes, no, sorry, that's not true. I've misread the book. White doesn't oblige at this point, plays queen to e6. Dr. Dave in his notes, by the way, is just what slightly put me off. I distracted myself. It's queen to e2 is suggested, which is +2. But white in the actual game, queen to e6. And here comes the queen trade because black forces it with queen to here check, attacking the white queen and supported by the knight. White still won't swap queens. White prefers to block with the bishop. And so finally, black does it on white's terms. Queen takes queen and knight takes queen. And what have we got? I mean, we've got a position that's a slight advantage to white because, you know, he's got a lead in development. And black's got a slightly iffy pawn formation, but it's, you know, there's chess to be played. It's not over. There's also this threat here. And that's the reason why black's next move is rook to c8. He doesn't want to allow the check and the fork. So rook to c8. Knight to c3 is played by white. Knight to f6 from black, desperately trying to get developed. Castles from white. This is quite a long game, by the way, for one of Dr. Dave, so bear with me. h6. Odd move. It looks a bit time-wasty, but okay, +1 and a bit. So white's very happy with life at the minute. Knight to b5 is played. King to f7. So black is trying very hard to get untangled. Attacking this knight. So this knight moves. b6 attacks it, doesn't attack that one, that's illegal, attacks this one, and so the knight retreats back here. e6, perfectly reasonably, so the bishop might finally get out of its jail. And rook a to c1 from white. And you have to say, black's got themselves out of trouble. It's +1. It's a bit better for white. As I say, the black king isn't as safe as the white king, and black's got the isolated pawn this time, but it's playable. You know, there's chess to be played. It's not too bad. Right up to the point where black blunders, and black plays bishop to e7, and you watch the bar, off it goes. So if you want to work out why bishop to e7 is a catastrophic blunder, press pause. Otherwise, I will carry on in 3, 2, and 1. Rook takes c6. Quite simply, white can take the book. Because if black recaptures, knight to e5 is not only check, but it forks the rook as well. So king to e8, knight takes, and now you have a position where white just has a whole knight advantage. No good. at top good level chess, that's the end of the game. Okay, we'll have one more today, and or in this video, I should say, before we take a break. And no names on this one, but a very similar pattern that you might recognize from a previous game. And we'll see if it helps you work out the killer move at the end, the winning move. So d4, d5, takes, and c4. Knight to f6 this time, knight to c3, knight to c6, knight to f3, and again bishop to g4, this very, very tempting move. Why not pin the knight? Bishop to e2, very, very similar to a previous game. e6, lets the bishop out of jail, defends the center. Castles, bishop e7, bishop e3, queen to b6. Here comes the sort of the Spielman idea of putting the queen out to b6. It's still relatively level. It's not too bad. And then white plays a3. White sets a bit of a trap. Black doesn't have to fall into the trap. Look, the position's level. You can see from the bar 0.4, 0.5, 0.46. It's level. But black does. Queen takes b2. And there goes the bar. So if you want to now see if you can work out the correct move for white, please press pause. Otherwise, I will play it on the board in 3, 2, 1. And the winning move for white is this. Knight a4. It hits the queen. Let's look and see what escape squares she's got. None of these, because the white queen defends everything down there. No, because of the rook. No, because of the rook. No, because of the queen, which means these two squares are out as well. No, because of the bishop and the knight, actually. No, because of the queen. No, because of the knight. No, because of the pawn. Nope, because of the bishop and the knight. Nope, because of this pawn. Nope, because of the knight. A thoroughly trapped queen. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different squares that she could go to, and not a single one of them is safe. Ouch. Yeah, nasty. Although I do want to just put this back on the board, and before I make out that we've refuted the Caro Kann defense, if black doesn't take it, it's dead level. So, okay, fine. But yeah, a nice pretty picture to finish this episode. All right, see you all soon for 4 more games with the Caro Kann. Thanks for watching.